this is Faith at Faith and Books, and I'm going to do an addendum video because I missed two prompts from the F-tag. Jim's books, reading and stuff, had tagged me, and I was in a rush to do it, and I inadvertently missed two of the prompts. So I'm going to make up for that here, and I'm also going to do a review of a book I just finished. So the prompt that I missed was the fiction versus nonfiction ratio. How much fiction do you read? I don't have the prompt in front of me, of course, because again, I'm not very prepared. It was how much fiction do you read in comparison to nonfiction? And I looked back over my Goodreads this year, and then just in general, looking back at the books I've read, and I think I'm about 60-40, 60% fiction and 40% nonfiction. I've always enjoyed nonfiction, especially history and biographies or autobiographies, memoirs. And then I also tend to read a lot of religion books, like theological books. This year I read Seneca's On the Shortness of Life. I've read 3 books that were of a religious nature. I've read, I keep DNFing my biographies so far. I started one on Thomas Jefferson, but I didn't care for it. I've started several nonfictions and haven't followed through, but I am reading a book right now on Madison, James Madison. And then I've read several books on gardening or nature. I read I did read a biography of Beatrix Potter. So I do enjoy a lot of nonfiction. Nonfiction takes me longer to read. Fiction I can often read quite quickly, or at least relatively speaking, more quickly than nonfiction, which takes a little while. But yeah, I think I'm about 60-40 for that prompt. The other one was at the very end of Jim's video, and maybe I didn't see it, or I just didn't read it. It flashed up on the screen. I didn't realize what it was, but he asked the question, is there a book about book burning better than Fahrenheit 451? And I have to say no, because Fahrenheit 451 is one of the few science fiction books I really love. I've read that several times. I remember really enjoying reading it with my kids when we were homeschooling. I think they were in 8th grade, and we did a study on that. That's one of the few times where I bought a book study, like a study guide, and that really helped. Usually those things kind of fall flat, but it helped with that. So yeah, I really love Ray Bradbury. I went through a Ray Bradbury period in my early teens and read Dandelion Wine, and I didn't read all of his works. I don't think I ever read the Martian Chronicles. But anyway, yeah, so Fahrenheit 451 it's prophetic. It's a very profound and prophetic book. I really, really love that book. So that's my opinion on that last prompt. And then let me do a quick review of a book I just read, because my team, Finland, for the Euro, I don't know, is it called a cup? It's a tournament, the football tournament. And it's part of the reading the books is part of the Reading Europe 2020 or 2021 challenge that Mark at Book Time with Elvis is hosting, and it's actually quite a wonderful experience, even though I'm not as involved as some others, because I haven't been able to watch every match, and some people really have been watching. But it's a wonderful event, and poor Mark, I think, is working very hard because he keeps having to do these updates, and he's got to do them from school, from where he works. He's a school teacher, because he's got to, every day put out these reports. So it's quite a lot of work for him. So thank you, Mark, if you see this. I appreciate all that effort. But Finland lost to Belgium, and it's questionable whether Finland is going to make it in if they qualified It's to be determined based on the wins. I guess today they have some more games, and when will they decide? They're going to decide, I don't know, today, tomorrow, figure out who of the second tier teams that were an obvious shoo-ins for the tournament, for the final, what do you call it? I don't know, playoffs or whatever. The ones that fall beneath, where they won one game, but maybe they didn't win every game. Only one out of three maybe. They have to determine somehow who gets in to fill in the ranks. So anyway, that's where Finland is. So I don't know what's going to happen with them. But anyway, they lost to Belgium, and so I read A Dog of Flanders, which was published in 1872. And the woman apparently was English, but she must have been of Belgium, I don't know, descent or birth, because her name was Marie-Louise de la Ramée. And she published it under the name Ouida, Ouida. And it's set in Antwerp and its environs. And it was, to me, it was a very maudlin, overwrought, heavy-handed Victorian melodrama. It's only 90 pages long, according to my Kindle. I got it free on the Kindle. And it's considered a classic. Now, it's sort of a so-so classic for the UK and the USA. It was not well received in Belgium or that area. And it wasn't, I think, translated into the Dutch until 1986 or something. I got all this from Wikipedia because I was reading about the book. But where it really is considered a high classic is in Japan, Korea, and the Philippines. And in fact, I think they said in the 1980s, and now my facts are fuzzy, but they finally built statues of the character Nello and the dog. And I'm going to mispronounce the dog's name because I never quite got it. Patrèche, P-A-T-R-E-S-C-H-E or something like that. So I never knew how to say the dog's name. But anyway, they finally erected statues in Antwerp because they were getting all these Japanese visitors saying, don't you have anything here from the dog of A Dog of Flanders? Because they really love the story. But it's a very sad story. If you don't like sad fairy tales, don't read this book. It's all about grinding poverty. And the dog is very idealized and, better than most of the humans. And it's very, it's just really heavy-handed and sad and melodramatic. And, but it did make me interested in Antwerp, and it did make me interested in Rubens, because the artist Rubens plays a role in this, his art anyway, plays a role in this story. So that made me want to look up, paintings by Rubens, because I don't know very much about him. So I don't know. To me, it wasn't the greatest children's literature in the world. And in fact, when I was reading it, it was so sad and so much about grinding poverty. And the last book that I had read about Belgium was King Leopold. And what was it, King Leopold? And it was a popular book about King Leopold. And I only read half of that book and DNF'd it because that was so horrible. It was all about his exploitation and his just, the genocide that he conducted in the Congo, in the Belgian Congo. He came to power in 1865, and this book was written in 1872. So I wonder if that whole, it's very anti-society and how society doesn't care. A Dog of Flanders. And so I wonder if that was just the mood of the country under this king, that there was just this upper class that didn't care, and people weren't kind to each other. They didn't help each other out. And I don't know. Anyway, it was a dark book. So that is my review of A Dog of Flanders and my addendum to my F tag. And I guess that's it. I was going to film this outside because I wanted you to hear the lack of cicada noises. But my gardeners, we have a garden company that shows up 6 times a year. And they showed up this morning. They're putting mulch down or something. They showed up last week to weed. So anyway, I didn't want to go outside. So that's it from me. I hope you are doing well and happy reading. Bye.